The quiet strength of Natalie West. Natalie West stood in the parking lot of Titan Grappling Center, hands on hips, her breath steady despite the nerves fluttering beneath the surface. The sun hung low in the sky, casting sharp reflections off the tall glass windows of the academy. To any passerby, she looked like a typical woman in her late 30s, auburn hair tied back in a tight ponytail, a weathered brown belt wrapped around her GI. But beneath the calm surface, Natalie was carrying a mission shaped by decades of training and a sacred promise made to the man who taught her everything. Her fingers brushed against the cloth of her belt, silently whispering, "This is for you, Papa." The brown belt was a deliberate choice. Her black belt, worn smooth by thousands of hours on the mat, was resting quietly at home. Her grandfather, Harold West, had taught her Jiu Jitsu in their modest family dojo since she was 6. He had trained quietly but intensely, away from the glare of the competition circuit. His teachings were about self-growth, discipline, and community, not podiums or gold medals. Just before his passing 3 months ago, he had asked her for a favor. "Jiu-Jitsu's soul is fading, Nat," he had told her, voice raspy but determined. "It's become about breaking people, not building them. Do me a favor, find a rot, and help fix it." Natalie had taken those words to heart. Her research led her to Titan Grappling Center, a high-profile gym with an impressive reputation for producing champions. But beneath the shine, there were stories, plenty of them, about an atmosphere laced with arrogance, exclusion, and open disrespect, especially toward women. It was a place that, according to several former members, prized dominance over development. As she reached into her bag for her phone, a text popped up from her best friend, Emily, who had arrived earlier to blend in as a regular student. "Cameras ready in the locker room. Good luck." Emily wasn't just there to support Natalie. She was filming discreetly for a presentation Natalie was preparing on inclusivity in martial arts. They weren't looking to shame anyone publicly, but rather to shine light on the everyday discouragements that kept talented people out of the sport. With one last look at the small photo of Harold tucked into her wallet, Natalie straightened her shoulders and made her way toward the gym doors. As she entered, the familiar smell of mats, sweat, and antiseptic greeted her. The front desk attendant barely looked up from his phone when she stepped forward. "I'm here for the advanced class," Natalie said calmly. He looked her over, plain GI, worn belt, no flashy patches. His eyes were skeptical. "Advanced is brown and black belt only." "I'm a brown belt," she replied evenly. "Trained about 15 years. The guy shrugged, sliding a clipboard toward her. "Waivers here. Locker rooms to the left. Class starts in 10. Natalie signed with her mother's maiden name, Natalie Carter, just in case anyone tried to look her up later. Inside the women's locker room, Emily played her part well, pretending not to know Natalie while pretending to fix her ponytail in the mirror. "Zane just walked in," she whispered. "Already kicked out 2 guys for low intensity in intermediate. He's on a power trip." Zane Barlow, the head instructor at Titan, was in his early 40s. A decorated competitor with a jaw like carved stone and a voice that carried like a drill sergeant. His online videos portrayed him as a no-nonsense coach who weeded out the weak and forged champions through adversity. But Natalie knew enough to distinguish real discipline from macho performance. A tall purple belt woman approached her as she adjusted her GI. "New face. I'm Lila." "Natalie. Just moved to the area," she replied with a smile. "Word of advice," Lila added in a low voice. "Zane doesn't think much of women above blue belt unless they've won gold nationally. Says we lack aggression." "Good to know," Natalie said, keeping her expression calm despite the heat blooming in her chest. The advanced class was already warming up when she stepped onto the mat. The mostly male group eyed her with a mix of curiosity and dismissal. At the center stood Zane, taller and broader than she expected, his black belt tied so tightly it might have been fused to his waist. He paused his instructions mid-sentence when he noticed her. Well, he said loudly. "Ladies' cardio kickboxing is on Thursdays, sweetheart." Laughter rippled around the room. "I'm here for advanced," Natalie said, bowing formally. "Brown belt, 15 years. Zane grinned, his teeth bright under the fluorescent lights. Is that so? Let's see what 15 years gets you. He barked, line up by rank. Natalie stood among the brown belts, most of whom looked like football players with cauliflower ears. Zane glanced up and down the line. Today we're doing triangle escapes. I need a demo partner. His eyes locked on Natalie. You'll do, he said with a smirk. This was the game publicly test the outsider, especially a woman, especially one who looked too calm. Natalie stepped forward, masking her readiness behind measured steps. Where do you train? Zane asked. West Jiu Jitsu Academy, she said. Never heard of it. Competition record? None, she replied. My teacher believed in Jiu Jitsu for growth, not sport. More chuckles followed. Zane's grin widened. Ah, one of those mystical types. We believe in real training here, not fortune cookie wisdom. Without warning, he shot in for a takedown. She let it happen, making sure to land cleanly and defend with just enough technique to appear competent. He locked in side control. See that? Zane said to the class. Prope Brown Bildspraus. Not this nonsense. Natalie let the insult roll off. She escaped cleanly and resumed in neutral guard. Zane called it luck, then increased the pace. Over the next 10 minutes, he applied more force, tested her balance, and tried to pressure her into mistakes. She gave just enough to play the role. Finally, he stood and addressed the class. This is what happens when belts get handed out like Halloween candy. Weak, unprepared. He yanked her up harder than necessary. Stick to yoga. She didn't react, just bowed and moved back into line. For drilling, she was paired with a heavy-set brown belt named Dean. I'll take it easy, he said with a wink. Zane hovered nearby. More pressure, Dean. Let her feel a real triangle. The man complied, applying pressure well beyond what was necessary for drilling. Natalie adjusted carefully, controlling her breathing, but not resisting too well. Zane crouched next to them, correcting her technique in ways that only made things worse. She nodded and smiled politely, cataloging every moment in her memory and on Emily's phone. Then came the twist. All right, Zane shouted. Round-robin sparring. Winner stays on. Carter, you're up first. With me. Gasps rippled through the class. It wasn't customary for instructors to spar new students in their first session. But Zane wasn't just challenging Natalie. He was setting a stage. Unless you're not up for it, he said. Natalie bowed. I'm happy to train, sir. They began standing. Zane taunted her. Come on, brown belt. Show us those 15 years. Natalie initiated a clean, single-leg attempt. Zane countered with a brutal slam that rattled the mat. Too weak, he said, securing top control. This is why women can't hack it at higher belts. He transitioned into a Kimura grip and began to apply pressure. Real pressure, the kind that ended careers. Natalie's eyes closed for a brief second. She remembered Harold's voice. Leverage over strength. Control over ego. Never humiliate, educate. The moment had come. Enough was enough. In one swift motion, she escaped, then transitioned. Perfectly. She executed her grandfather's signature armbar move, passed down to only a few. Gasps echoed across the room. Zane fought hard. Natalie tightened the hold just enough to make her point. Tap, she said calmly. It's okay. 14 seconds. The slap of Zane's hand on the mat echoed louder than his previous boasts. Natalie released him instantly and bowed. Thank you for the round. Zane ignored her hand. He stood, GI in disarray, pride torn. Lucky move, he muttered. But the silence in the gym told a different story. Dean whispered, Where did you learn that? Natalie didn't respond. She didn't need to. Lila stepped up beside her. That wasn't a brown belt move. That was black belt mastery. Zane called her out again, this time against Jason, one of his star students. Another test. Another trap. Natalie neutralized every attempt. No flashy moves. Just clean, undeniable control. Afterward, Zane approached. Who are you? He asked quietly. No brown belt moves like that. She met his eyes. I told you. I train with Harold West. Zane's face shifted. Harold West? The Harold West. Yes, she said. Zane nodded slowly. I started because of him. I saw a video when I was 16. The silence hung heavy. He passed 3 months ago, Natalie said. His last wish was that I protect what Jiu Jitsu is meant to be. That includes calling out toxic culture like this. Her words rang through the gym. How many students did you run off? How many women never came back because they weren't aggressive enough? This place could build people up. Instead, you've been breaking them down. The room was still. Zane looked hollow, the facade cracking. 6 months later, the sign outside read, West Titan Academy. Zane had changed. The medals still hung, but beside them now were Harold's handwritten principles: respect, community, growth. Natalie, now teaching weekly, adjusted the black belt tied around her waist, her name embroidered next to her grandfather's. A group of teenage girls practiced guard passes nearby. Emily waved from the camera, filming a new series, Martial Arts for Everyone. Zane entered from the office, nodded. Seminar ready? Always, Natalie smiled. As she bowed in front of the class beneath her grandfather's portrait, she heard his words once more. The true victory in jiu-jitsu is not when you defeat others, but when you help them rise. And she knew this was just the beginning.